Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the video. I'm GetGoodGuy, and today, a non-Firestorm video. I know, that's such a rarity from a Battlefield content creator these days. And it isn't even a news video. Nope, I have a tips and weapon analysis video for you. I'm urging you to stop sleeping on one of the most iconic weapons in Battlefield 5. It's an absolute beast, it's rarely seen in the game, and it's synonymous with World War II. That weapon is the MP40 of the medic class. Now of course, some people use it. That goes without being said for every weapon that I cover. But just because you or your mate or whoever uses the weapon doesn't necessarily mean it isn't underused, or I guess more fittingly, underrated. Because let's be honest, there aren't enough medics running around Battlefield 5 for how the game is balanced. There are more than before, but still not really enough to get consistent heals from game to game. This is largely due to the map design of BF5 not making SMG play the most viable option, not by a long shot in fact. So there's reason number one of why people are sleeping on the MP40, because they're basically sleeping on all SMGs. And I get why, it's not the easiest option to go for, but they can be very effective if you get a solid grasp on the playstyle required, which gives you the upper hand on players using other classes in certain, admittedly pretty specific, circumstances. Then there's reason number two why I say people are sleeping on the MP40. It's because this SMG just doesn't appear to be one of the popular picks for the already underused medic class, based upon my experience in game of what I get killed by, what I see, and what I pick up off the ground. This is mirrored by my friends' experiences, and I also never see anyone talking about the MP40, not on forums, not in creators' videos, nothing. What usually happens is you see the Sten because it's the default selection for medic, the ZK383 because it has a bipod, the Tommy gun because it can be a big mag CQC slayer, and well really you get the point. Basically, the MP40 doesn't appear to have a speciality. It isn't a min-max option and thus isn't really selected in a class that's already underused. But don't be fooled. Although the MP40 isn't going to suddenly make you the world's best player, it does have value. It's not overpowered or even necessarily a very top tier option, but I've proven to myself, and now I hopefully will today to you, that it's absolutely worth your consideration. It comes as standard with a rate of fire of 540 rounds per minute and an ammo capacity of 32. Both very solid, middle of the pack stats for SMGs in Battlefield 5. Why is this important? Well, it's because that's the default setting. None of the specializations affect rate of fire or ammo count. It's all focused upon how the weapon feels and performs at a base level, meaning you have solid capabilities to begin with and can then tweak things to your liking. No need or even ability to use specializations up on actually getting a good RPM or mag size. That's already in place. So you have a strong middle-of-the-road option from the get-go and can start to set it up to beat other options in certain ways. But before we get too in-depth, let's cover some basic playstyle aspects. Using the MP40 or just using an SMG allows you to play in a very erratic, evasive and movement-based manner. You can play it in especially high tempo if you wish, as long as you focus your play around areas of cover and can break lines of sight. This can all be improved and increased with the use of unpredictable movement, slides, jumps, mantling walls, and all manner of non-standard map traversal. I'm hoping you can pick a lot of this kind of stuff out of my footage today, and it's important because it's a full circle premise. Using something like the MP40 allows you to play like this due to its capabilities, and the better you get at playing like this, the better such a weapon becomes in your hands. It's not just about firing your weapon, it's about every facet of your play. You'll surprise the enemy, you'll close gaps better, you'll be able to avoid damage from longer range weapons. Then on top of that, you have hipfire. Even without building your specializations around it on the MP40, it's great. I didn't spec for hipfire, and I found that it was still absolutely a potent asset in a lot of circumstances. It has better range and reliability from the hip than I had imagined for a long time playing BF5. SMGs in general have lethal hipfire, possibly the best in a BF game I've heard some people say, and a lot of people are missing out on that in BF5 due to SMGs not being a popular pick. They stomp the assault class overall for hipfire viability, that's absolutely for sure, and this hipfire ability meant I could do pretty much anything I wanted, at least reasonably well. Why? Because the MP40 has solid mid to long range abilities as well, especially if you set your specializations up for it. BF5 maps are huge and open, so having some range on an SMG is almost a necessity on certain maps and in a lot of situations. Otherwise, you can feel extremely limited. Now, something like the MP34 is a better range-specific pick, but it fires more slowly by default, so it's not as good at close quarters as the MP40 without picking certain specializations. Again, there we can highlight the at least capable nature of the MP40 in most circumstances, simply due to the solid default RPM and ammo capacity. Now, the MP34 can fire faster than the MP40 if light bolt is selected for it, but then it loses what makes it special and becomes a 20-round slower firing Suomi or Tommy gun knockoff. My point isn't that the MP34 is bad or isn't a worthwhile pick, in fact far from it, which I hope to cover in a video soon, but that the MP40 that we're looking at today has the capability to be a great all-round option. It can do close quarters, it can do long range, and it's pretty simplistic to use and handle. It doesn't have a particularly high skill floor to just shoot the weapon and land damage. A lot of the skill requirement comes in the form of positioning, reaction time, game sense, and things of that nature. So you can just throw on the MP40 and drop a few people regardless of your skill level, as long as you set up your specializations to work for you. Now, a lot of my footage is from smaller modes. The reason why is because those tend to be what I play, but it's worth mentioning that, due to the MP40 being an SMG, it relies upon situation and circumstance more so than a lot of other weapon types, and smaller modes may offer you more of those. However, the smaller modes actually still tend to be played out on very wide open spaces, so your performance with the MP40, or any SMG for that matter, is more so going to just come down to you and how you use it. BF5 is not all that friendly towards closer range focused options, we all know this, but something like the MP40 does at least help to mitigate this due to its better range viability than a lot of other SMGs. And I'm saying that just to really ram home why I feel like this iconic gun is worth a lot of people's time. It's worth trying out, and I feel like most people haven't given it a fair go. If you throw it on and you don't like it, at least you can tick it off your list of options that are viable for you. But if you give it a go and you connect with it, well, you'll be glad you watched this video. For example, if you already like the Sten, because as we covered, I think a lot of people that use that weapon are using it because it's the default option, so whenever they do select medic here and there, they're just kind of used to it and it's already on. Well, if that's you and you haven't tried the MP40, then do so. I have my Sten and my MP40 set up in pretty much the same fashion, and aside from a few slight differences here and there when firing the weapon, the MP40 to me just feels like it's a better option due to being a bit more viable at range. It may be ever so slightly harder to control, and that's almost unnoticeable really, but it can more reliably land damage from further out and still hip fires people down at close quarters as you'd expect. Another point worth mentioning is that a lot of people have complained about BF5 not feeling like World War II games they're used to, not thematically or aesthetically. Well, at least the MP40 can give you a blast of that feeling. I'm pretty sure this SMG has been in every World War II game I can remember. It's a great nostalgia option, absolutely iconic. And in reality, the MP40 was used extensively during World War II, both on the Eastern and Western fronts. But back to the weapon itself. You've seen from the footage that I've chopped and changed my sights around a little, but have definitely settled upon the Lati sight being my optic of choice. That's the somewhat convoluted looking one that's a square with two circular intersections. I know many people don't like it. I in fact used to hate it, but now I'm used to it, and it's very useful. It does obstruct your view somewhat, but that slight 1.25 magnification makes a difference on a game as big and wide open as BF5, and the crosshair obviously has value. The iron sights do have an increased magnification, but I find they cover far too much of what I'm looking at sometimes, so I go with the Lati. It may take some getting used to for a lot of you out there, and I 100% think you should just go with what works for you. If that's iron sights or the NIDAR sight, then all good, go for it. Now, what about the specializations? Well, I'll give you a quick look here at the graphic. You can either pause, print screen, or commit it to memory if you so wish. So let's cover why I use this setup. Well, I use quick aim at the top because, as with almost all of my weapon specialization choices, I want it to feel snappy and allow me to play in a very reactionary manner. With an SMG especially, I want to run around, get involved, and be aggressive. So the ability to aim down sight more quickly, 33% faster in fact, is a real asset for me. And weapons where I don't have quick aim now feel very sluggish. In the middle I go for the right side options, with ported barrel and barrel bedding. This allows me to utilize reduced horizontal recoil and improve stationary aim fire. This really doubles down on selecting the MP40 as a versatile option, with the ability to still do work at close range due to being an SMG, whilst being a far better longer range option than most other weapons available in the class right now. Plus, as stated earlier, I find the MP40 to be a very good hipfire weapon, even without speccing for hipfire improvements, making the right side picks the only logical one for how I like to play. And I'd say that if you really want to focus on being a hipfire specialist, then you're better off picking something other than the MP40 anyway. Then at the bottom I go for recoil buffer, which grants me reduced upwards recoil. Essentially, I've set up my MP40 for sheer ease of use and ability to hit targets at long range. I've gone for a nice in-between of the gun having already good accuracy, so rather than going all in on that, I've made it very controllable as well, for a great all-round feel and situationally versatile capabilities. Now if you want to set up your MP40 differently, then be my guest. But I'll say that I don't think quick reload at the top is worthwhile for a 15% increase in speed, as the reload of the MP40 has never bothered me personally. The left side picks in the middle of enhanced grips and polished action are both hipfire focused upgrades. They'll make the MP40 even more of a hipfire monster, but as stated, I think there are better options for that playstyle in the medic class. The bottom selection is where I think it's really worth considering the other option than I use. Custom stock for better accuracy and aim fire while moving may actually be a better option for many than recoil buffer, especially on PC where using a mouse negates a lot of recoil anyway. The MP40 isn't the hardest weapon to handle, so consider if using custom stock would be better for you. The choice is yours. And so that is my rundown of why you should stop sleeping on this iconic beast. The MP40 is without doubt worth a look if you haven't given it one before. And picking up on what I said in this video may just have you slaying out with medic in ways you simply haven't done before. But what do you think? Do you like the MP40? What's your go-to medic weapon, or do you stay away from the medic class? Let me know in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, feel free to like, subscribe, turn on notifications and join my Discord server. In the description and my pinned comment. Here's the Board of Awesome for the epic people who support the channel on Patreon. They're all absolute heroes and I love them all deeply and often. If you want to join them on the Board of Awesome, the link to the Patreon page is in the description and my pinned comment. And with that all said, I'm GetGoodGuy and I'll see you next time. Laters.